Yes, you are now listening to the sound of Sports Reports is ordered. So, of course, that means I am here, flanked by the one and only, born in Texas, raised in VA, representing New Jerusalem a whole lot better than Shakur Stevenson. Do not bring feelings to a fat fight.
Don't do it.
He is Mr. Logic.
You're
And they're coming live from the Alamo, where there should be an NFL team. Your unorthodox statistician, 2-5, going left so much that you thought Deontay Wilder should have listened to me. So, good evening, Grandma. Like, review, subscribe, do all the good things, do all of the free things, and join us for Get It Off My Chest.
Yeah, we got another show. We've been gone for a minute. Hope everybody enjoyed their holiday weekend. I enjoyed mine for multiple reasons. One thing I always say, sometimes you got to celebrate yourself. I know it may come off as you being cocky, but sometimes you got to sit in the room and let people know with your voice, like, listen, this is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm proud of myself. This is why I'm proud of my accomplishments. So with that being said, I got my degrees over here. Now I'm saying, got them framed up all nice. You know what I mean? So, like, listen, sometimes you got to show people, like, yo, this is what hard work looks like. I am the embodiment of hard work. I personify hard work. I personify growth. And I think that comes from the people you have around you. I think having smart people that you can communicate with on a weekly basis. I talk to Mike all the time. I like having conversations with smart people. Just the degrees don't make you. It's just something that marks, like, listen, you went out, set a goal for yourself. Men have to do hard things. And the only way you can get hard things accomplished, you got to have good people in your corner. Family supported me when I was doing my homework and taking my time. People left me alone, quiet. Shout out to Verizon for keeping the Wi-Fi on fleek because I was doing all my homework online. Shout out to my job for, like, not bothering me when I was trying to use the 36-inch monitor to do all my papers. Know what I mean? So, just like I said, I just want to, you know, have a second to shout out my motherfucking self. So here we go. Masters of Public Administration, Bachelors in Criminal Justice. Let's go.
Well done, sir. Well done, sir. And it's so fitting that, you know, we both finished at the same time too.
Yeah,
that's so crazy how that works.
And we didn't even coordinate that.
You know what I'm saying? But yo, yeah, congrats. You know what I'm saying? Well done, well deserved, well respected. You know what I'm saying? Show my man some love. You know what I'm saying? So get it off my chest. I'm gonna do something a little more traditional, get it off my chest. So let's talk about the one and only LeBron James Jr.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Mr. Paper Towel himself. You know what I'm saying? He came out the other day. I was excited. Like, I actually literally, I was driving home from somewhere. The wife called me. It was like, yo, can you go pick up some Chick-fil-A? And I was like, yo, I know you ain't about to have me in the middle of traffic about to die watching a summer league game. So, you know what I'm saying? So I was watching the one and only LeBron James Jr. in anticipation of what was to come. So, of course, he didn't have the best game, 2 for 9. You know, he did get over some screens in a good way. You know, he got crossed up a little bit. You know, some things happened, you know, and then I got disgusted for 2 reasons, all involving Bronny, one positive, one negative. So, you know, my man hit the behind the back, pull-up jumper, kind of looked like his daddy a little bit. And I said, shit, I could not escape that clip. All day long, all I saw was Bronny hit that one shot over and over and over again. And I mean, I guess that's all I was going to see because that was his only highlight. You know what I mean? But then, you know what I'm saying, I got the other side of it where it was just like, oh, yeah, Bronny James, I knew he was a bum. I knew he was going to come out here and stake it up. And I'm sitting up here like, look, man, okay, I get it. He's LeBron's son. I know that LeBron is polarizing. There's a little Caitlin Clark to this story, where you get burned out real quick. You on one side of the fence or the other. I get it. But then there was a guy by the name of Adonis Arms who looks like he has the arms of an Adonis that went 32-11. Then there was Mr. Logical and my guy. You remember Antoine Davis? He was the guy from Detroit that was 3 points away from breaking Pistol Pete's record. He put up 20 in that game. There was Blake Henson on Bronny's own team that showed up. There was so much going on that we could have celebrated, but then we turned around and brought it back to nepotism. Does he belong? And then, of course, Boogie Ellis went out and scored 17 points. So that just made it hit home even more because people are saying that's the USC player that the Lakers should have drafted. Look, man, we knew Bronny was going to be a project. We knew that LeBron wanted to play with his son.
Correct.
Just enjoy the ride.
Yeah, that's my thing. Like, we knew for 2 years from the time he did that interview that if he had an opportunity, he was going to play with his son. If the Lakers would have taken him in the first round with that 17th overall pick with truly better talent on the board, I'd have been like, okay, that was a bad move for your organization. But there was a guy that the Magic drafted in 2005 from Spain in the second round and kept him on ice. And he retired in Spain. He never came across the pond. Like, he didn't like Orlando. He said he went on a visit to New York and didn't like the city. So a lot of these second round guys don't even come over and join their NBA squad. You knew they were going to take Bronny at 55 if it was available. So people talk about, LeBron has too much curl, too much power, whatever the case may be. If the NCAA or if the NBA would have changed the rule so Bronny could come out straight from high school and play with LeBron, then I'd be like, yo, that's different because they literally circumvented the process that was in place to appease him as an individual. But he didn't. He waited. They gave his son terrible draft grades. It wasn't like they were out there trying to get what's going on, Rajon. It wasn't like they were trying to get him drafted higher. They were literally saying, like, we think he's a bottom of the second round pick from the beginning, from the initial, even no matter how well he performed at the basketball combine. It was like, yo, this dude's a project, bottom of the second round. But they got him in the bottom of the second round. You knew he was going to go to his dad's team. They got him in the bottom of the second round. I'm not sure why people are acting all crazy over nepotism, so forth and so on, considering that Mike Dunleavy Jr. is the GM of the championship organization, Golden State Warriors, and he is botching it, and no one says anything. So just like that's my only piece. Like I said, I can get it if you I really can't even understand like an articulated reason why people don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, if my granddaddy went to Princeton, I tell y'all to kiss my ass, and I'd be walking across the Ivy League.
Yeah, like let's keep it a buck, right? The Kansas City Chiefs won the AFC Championship 4 times in the last 6 years. What's the name of the trophy? The Lamar Hunt Trophy gets handed to Lamar Hunt Jr. 4 times in the last 6 years, and the only reason he gets the trophy is because his dad owned the team and they named the damn trophy after him, and it gets handed to a guy named after the dude that was named after the trophy was named after. No one says anything. But,
Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, Jeannie Buss, the list goes on. I mean, they got Linda Rambis up in there doing whatever she doing. I mean, the best thing she did all year was give LeBron a bicep massage.
I mean, Kevin McHale traded Kevin Garnett to the Boston Celtics. Jerry West traded Paul Gasol to the LA Lakers. It's like, come on, man. Like, if you recognize it and you're always upset by it, like if you always have posts about like, yo, I can't believe Jeannie Buss is running the Lakers and now the LeBron thing happens, okay, I'll rock with it. But if you never said anything, like that's the part that I don't get. It's like,
right,
that's literally par for the course. My sons, I have 4 people on my board of my nonprofit. It's my boy I've known since 2001 from FTech, shout out Dre, and my 2 sons. They don't know anything about running a nonprofit organization. We're all learning at the same time. But I didn't go get 2 adults and try to pay them. Like, I got my 2 sons on the board. So when this thing blows, like it spans and we can help the community the way I envision, they'll learn along with me. The same way Jerry Jones got his daughter up there making football decisions.
The same way that David Tepper's wife giving inputs on draft picks.
Yeah, so
it don't make no damn sense.
Yes,
we do, Residente. Yes, we do. But yeah, like it's just, I don't know. Like people just want to find something to be upset about.
I call it fake outrage. It's forced. Your outrage is forced. Like, just simply say, I'm sick of LeBron getting his way. If that's what you're bothered by,
and guess what?
then I understand that. But like, as far as what the impact on basketball, I don't think the LeBron James Jr. pick had that much of an impact on basketball.
So check it out, Mr. Logical, right? Mr. Rational. I'm tired of LeBron getting his way too, but I want Bronny to succeed. You know what I'm saying? How about that? You know, but anyway, we got some free agency and some trades to talk about. Mr. Rutley, how do you feel now that the one and only DeFraud DeFrozen?
Oh, yeah, I forgot you called him that.
Is a Sacramento King.
I think it's just a bunch of teams. Remember, like they said, they had this rumor Larry Bird would walk into the locker room during the 3-point contest and say, who's here for second place? Yeah. I feel like a lot of teams that are making moves after post-championship, Jason Tatum getting his money, Philly's couple of moves, OKC's move, Minnesota getting Dillingham during the draft. I'm not sure exactly how that plays with Ant, unless they're going to make him a 6th man and just let him just catch fire off the bench. Maybe Mike Conley Jr. stays and he can kind of teach him how to play as an undersized guard in the league. Denver kind of like, they lost a piece of here too. I feel like a lot of teams are playing for 4th to 6th place. A lot of the moves, I don't think, put most of these teams out of the space of 4. Like, I don't think that any of these moves get anybody above 4. I don't think the DeMar DeRozan move gets Sacramento into, I'm not even saying championship, because I think people just kind of, you can eliminate most teams if you simply say championship. I'm just talking about I think the top 3 teams in each conference are pretty much set. Maybe 4 if you go out in the West. But best case scenario, a lot of these teams are making moves to go from 7, and because of the way the other teams are already set up, the best you're going to get is 4. Like, that's if you have like an outstanding run. Minnesota's going to be Minnesota because they kept their pieces. And they had like their playoffs run, and the narrative that you've had this run, you should be better the following year, especially if you run it back with a lot of your pieces.
Right.
You might be able to get a team like Phoenix to kind of slide a little more. Maybe that makes room for you. Takes the pressure off because they're doing so poorly. But I think Houston, if they can figure out what all the talent that they have with their coach, I think they might be able to move up. But I don't think anybody's moving above 4 with any of these moves. Even Philly to me is a fringe because it has that caveat of if healthy. So the DeMar DeRozan, like we talked about the NBA, like I'm not a big fan of everybody shooting threes all the time, but DeMar DeRozan shoots on his career 1.6 a game and he makes half. So it's like he's in like you have De'Aaron Fox who can blow by anybody in the league, but if you don't have to guard DeMar DeRozan at 22 feet, maybe you sag off a little bit and you kind of get in De'Aaron's face. Because if he kicks it out of DeRozan's not going to just pull up. He's going to dribble right back in that same spot where the defense was.
So you're familiar with DC Comics, right?
Vaguely.
All right. So
watched a couple of the movies.
Okay. So you got the Flash.
Correct.
You got Reverse Flash. So Sacramento is nothing but Reverse Flash Phoenix. Phoenix has Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, the mid-range gods. I imagine Kevin Durant is faster than DeRozan, but Fox is faster than Booker. But all they did was sign up to be the next team to get swept by the T-Wolves.
Pretty much.
This year they made it to the play-in. They beat Golden State. Klay Thompson's last game as a Warrior. And then they lost to New Orleans.
Did they go like 0-10, 0-11, 0-11,
10, yeah. And then they lost to New Orleans without Zion, with the chance to get to the first round of the playoffs. So all they did, to me, was finish 6th in the West to get swept by the 3rd seed T-Wolves next year. That's all I see here. So DeMar DeRozan is a better player than Harrison Barnes. But Harrison Barnes stretches the floor. He shoots the 3. I'm not saying he's good at it, but he does it. You know what I mean? So it gives the defense something else to think about. We'll see how they look with Malik Monk back as well. But the good news for Sacramento, if you're a Sacramento King fan, do you know that you now have the top 2 players in fourth quarter points from this season? DeMar DeRozan, number 1, and De'Aaron Fox, number 2. And then if you go back the year before that, they were number 2 and number 3 in reverse order. Fox, number 2, and DeRozan, number 3.
Yeah, but that's because they're on different teams dribbling to the same spot. Now
exactly.
they're the same
now they're clogging up each other's spot. So that's the bad news. Yeah, that's the bad news. So, so if you're Sacramento, I'm able, if I'm the owner, if I'm the leadership of that organization, I get to tell my fans, I didn't just sit on the fence.
Yeah,
I made a move. Just like I talked about the Clippers last week. We laugh at them now. They failed, but they went out. They put up their picks. They gave up SGA, who we didn't know was SGA at the time, and they said, "Yo, we going for this." It didn't work. What I mean?
I saw that wasn't going to work anyway. It didn't. They needed to keep depth for the fact that they brought in a guy who pretty much hadn't played much for 2 years. Like aside from that Toronto run, Kawhi's last couple of years in San Antonio were just kind of marred with reports that he was healthy,
right,
and just didn't want to play.
Right.
So if that's the case, if I'm bringing that guy in, I'm like, well, if you want to load manage, I need to be able to bring 3 or 4 guys in. So on games where you're not playing at all, I don't have to throw this guy out there for the first time and he's never touched, he's never been in the starting lineup. Mm-hmm. So I need to keep this depth and get these guys out there and get them, acclimated to the responsibility that I'm trying to give them. But he's like, nah, send him away and bring in Paul George, the other injury guy.
So it is possible for somebody's biggest strength to be their biggest weakness, right? That is a thing, right? That's a possibility.
What's that?
Like that your biggest strength could be your biggest weakness.
Elaborate.
If you excel at something, you can rely on it and go to the well to the point that it fails you because you can't pivot. So with that being said, Sacramento ain't doing shit until they get another center that's not Domantas Sabonis. And it's not even because he's a bad player. He's just not a center. He's just not effective enough defensively down there.
They need to do the Memphis move. Just get it real big in there and let your versatile 4 or 5 guy play 4 more than 5. Yeah.
Right. And then as much as I absolutely loved Devin Carter, the fact that they drafted Devin Carter, they got Davion Mitchell out of there. Now I got to find out that Devin Carter is having shoulder surgery. I can never say that. Shoulder surgery. And now is possibly going to miss the start of the season. So if you're going to Sacramento, just Sacramento, damn it.
I mean, Mike Brown, I like Mike Brown's attitude. I think his temperament is great. I think he's the kind of coach you need there because, and we're going to talk about this in football. I think sometimes certain personalities and positions in sport, like certain people as individuals, they bring a media-laden expectation of like championship or over success of like your whatever parts you have. And I think certain coaches, if Steve Kerr were to go to another team, there would be this expectation that he's going to turn him into what he did in Golden State. No matter what team, he can go to Charlotte and they'd be like, you know what? these guys kind of remind me of Clay and Steph. If you could just, Steve Kerr bring this magic, blah, blah, blah. And then you have these expectations, then you end up firing them and paying a huge buyout. I think Mike Brown just has a perfect temperament for Sacramento. I don't know if the ownership group has that same temperament, because making this move, I think, like you said, leverages his expectation on Sacramento to be amongst of the upper echelon of the West
And
and
they're not.
competing. And because the move looks like it fits that elk and that brand, and it's like the top three teams are pretty much locked in, and then you got Memphis bringing back their star, and they got the best player in college basketball per like the award count, and so it's just you're gonna have less space in the West to rise to three,
Yeah.
and I think getting a 5 might be your best bet. But this trade may have fans ready to like the beam, thinking they're gonna be top 3, because you look at OKC, oh, they're young, and Denver didn't make this move. It's like, yeah, but Denver still has Jokic.
Yeah, Memphis, aka allow me to reintroduce myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then I was looking around, hearing all the chatter, and allegedly our guy, Brandon Ingram, is potentially on the move. New Orleans just pulled off the trade for DeJounte Murray a couple of weeks ago. We both have questioned, can BI and Zion be a long-term team together? I don't think so. So now
I blame. I won't say blame. I think it could have worked. I don't know how, because it's not like they do completely different things for a basketball team. No matter what team, if you put Zion and Brandon Ingram on any team, should work. One guy attacks the rim, rebounds, plays. He's like a bit of a mismatch because he's stocky. He's like a more athletic Charles Barkley. And then Ingram does play that mid-range game a lot, but that's two separate like entities of the game. That's two separate play set styles. And it's like, I don't know how it didn't work, other than someone like Mike said, like maybe he ain't it, or maybe it's just one of those things where if you want to go to work, if you want to be there, you'll be there, and you'll show with different enthusiasm.
you know why? Because Brandon Ingram is the Eeyore version of Kyle Kuzma.
I'll give you this. I'll give you this
And
example.
young Kyle Kuzma, like before the championship Kyle Kuzma, but Bi just never grew up.
I just don't. It might be one of those things where he needs a change of scenery, or just a change of environment or circumstances. Like, for instance, like my son is going to his sophomore year, and throughout the school year, like his alarm goes off, I can hear it through the wall. I get up, I go wake him up. He gets up. But when the beginning of the year, when he had football and he had practice after school, he was up, like boom, ready to go, bag packed. Then it went from football to basketball, up, boom, bag packed. But then he had track, and track was more like just because he wasn't a senior. It was like mainly seniors and juniors competing. It wasn't as motivating. Like, he did it because he wanted to, get in shape for football. So they were just in Vegas this whole weekend. I picked them up this morning. They landed like 7:30, 7:40, something like that. Gets in the car in Philly. I drive straight from the airport to his school for summer football practice. Gets out of the car, goes into the gym, and practice starts. And his coach is like, "Where were you at all weekend?" He was like, "I was in Vegas." He was like, "When'd you get in?" He was like, "Around 7:30, 7:40 this morning." He was like, "And you made it to practice. So if he can make it here after flying cross country, then you," talk about everybody else in the room, like, "you guys should be motivated to do too. If he can fly across country, a sophomore, going into a sophomore year, leading, blah, blah, blah," just that kind of like desire to be there. Like, he literally was like, "Dad, make sure you pack my cleats in the car." He's fresh off the plane, no sleep, straight to practice. Brandon Ingram wouldn't play through injuries because it's like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
It was like that last year because CJ McCollum kind of threw a little shot at him, because then you had Zion. Zion probably could have played. He was out there doing windmill dunks the year before when they were planning to play in. And then at the end, appreciate it, Mike. So BI got the CJ McCollum. They said when CJ McCollum, the guys wouldn't play through injuries. I've been playing with a broken finger for this whole time. And you're just stuck there. All these other guys are being able to miss games, and you blame it on me, but yet this guy is supposed to be the franchise player in Zion. You gave him $182 million, and he doesn't play. But yet, when I'm hurt and I can't play, I'm getting shots. He's probably dealing with the local media, dealing with local people. So it might just be a situation where he needs to change scenery. But with that contract on the line, he probably should have played a little bit more. He probably should have just fought more of his inner demons and played tougher and played harder. That way it looks like a viable deal, because I think the fear is the next team's got to give him a 4-year, $208 million extension.
Right.
And I don't know if he's done enough, because we talked about the guys in-house that are getting deals. We talked about Franz Wagner got his deal, Jalen and Jason Tatum, and then who else got a big deal this offseason? Quickly got a big deal.
Anunoby got one.
Anunoby got a big deal, but they got a big deal from in-house.
You know what I'm saying?
It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to get $208 million from another team.
So with that being said, are there any teams that you could see him that would make sense?
If I take not knowing their financial situations, I think who could use Golden? I think Golden State maybe, because I think they need a guy that can create his own shot.
But does he make Kuminga redundant?
I mean, I'm not sure
what Kuminga's growth or stunt Kuminga's growth.
Or does he make Kuminga a commodity at the trade deadline for a team that's teetering and that 4, 5, 6 range in the Eastern Conference, and they think they need to make a move to get over the hump? Like, does Ingram playing well in Golden State allow Kuminga to end up in Indiana or something at the trade deadline because they think they're close because they just was in the Eastern Conference Finals, something like that? Because Kuminga's gotten his opportunities. I just haven't really seen much from him. He might have a ceiling. I think Brandon Ingram has more talent.
Yeah, because you had an old ass cripple still throwing up threes.
He was coming off the bench. And but that's the thing. Klay Thompson only shoots the three. He doesn't hold you up. So even if Klay Thompson shot 14 shots in a game, he probably took 16 dribbles. So it's not like he's gonna get in your way with the way he plays. Ingram might take up a little bit more of the dribbling. So I don't know if anywhere really works. Maybe Cleveland, but I think anywhere that works is someone's gonna have to give up something. It won't be a contender. Maybe like Charlotte.
It's like the man just reading off of my paper, basically. Like I said. So I had Golden State. Initially that was the first team that I had thought about. A lot of the same reasons, but if I was Golden State, I would probably rather have Lauri Markkanen. So we got to figure out what Utah is doing, because Danny Ainge got more pump fakes than D Wade. We don't know if he's trying to trade anybody. We don't know if he wants picks. We don't know if he's trying to trade picks. Danny Ainge is just playing ransom with everybody's career. You know what I'm saying? So like I would rather have Markkanen than Ingram if I could get him. But Markkanen may not be available until the trade deadline. So it just depends on how patient Golden State wants to be. It depends on, how Golden State starts the season, because obviously the more desperate you get, because with a player like Steph Curry, you can't say, all right, I mean, you got to be realistic, right? But you're not going to say, we're going to wait till next year. You know what I mean? Like, and he's turning 36 this year.
They probably would and this is the thing, and this is why we talked about teams, the 1, 2, and 3 kind of being set.
Yeah.
I think all of those teams made the sacrifice move over the last few seasons. Boston, I wouldn't say they got lucky. I mean, the draft is luck. So to hit on 2 guys in back-to-back years that are still there, that are growing and are essentially the same version of person and just 2 different skin tones,
Right.
is that's luck. Like that's, I mean, there's a lot of skill on their part, but like you say, you play with skill, good luck what happened. Because the Lakers and Sixers were in that same predicament, like that same 1-2-3 order, and Boston hit 2 years in a row. I don't think any teams hit 2 years in a row at that level in recent history. So you have a team out west that locked in 1, 2, and 3. Steph might have needed to leave Golden State along with Clay and Draymond this offseason. It should have been a full
Just
like
wipe it out.
Just wipe it out.
But the problem is,
it would have been unceremonious. It would have been unceremonious, and it would have been like, oh, that's disrespectful.
Well, it's not even that, but the problem
it's more disrespectful to be out here trying to bargain.
We'll get to the Lakers in a little bit.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that you can't really do that when you give Steve Kerr the 2-year, $35 million extension. That's the problem.
But that's the blow up. Like that probably should have been a part of it too, because if you look at it now, you kept Steph, you kept Draymond. Now you've kept that seemingly unrealistic expectation that we are a move away. You're not a move away. You're not a move away. You need Michael J. Fox and Doc in their time machine to get you back a few years. That's the only way you're getting back to championship contention, because I mean your time is running out. Mike brought up AD. I said that years ago after they got that championship in 2020. By the end of 2021, before the 2022 season started, I was like, your only bargaining chip, because the Lakers were just poorly run,
right,
was AD.
Right.
And it was like, you can't move AD because then you'll lose LeBron, whatever the case may be.
So be it. Bye.
But if you moved AD then, because like he's your bargaining chip, they could have gotten a real haul. I can't recall from who. I know we had this conversation.
Well, I know there was always talk about, is Anthony Davis going to go to Chicago at some point, because I know, he's from there and everything. So that was a team that was thought of to make a move for him. But I don't know if they really ever had. I mean, they had DeRozan, I guess, but I don't know what else.
I don't know who had the assets, but I know if I'm a GM of any team and you're calling me about, making a trade for some of my young talent, I'm like, yo, the trade starts at AD.
See, Mike, people like you are the problem. We up here trying to talk about Brandon Ingram, and here you go coming in with this Lakers stuff. We gonna get to the Lakers.
But like I said, that's part of it with Brandon Ingram. It's like
right.
New Orleans should have moved off of him 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah. So
when CJ made the comment, they should have moved off of him then.
They should have moved off of CJ, what they should have did. So I got 3 other teams that I had Brandon Ingram lined up for. 3 teams that I was thinking about. So as I said, Mr. Logical was reading my notes. So, I was going to say Cleveland. I don't like the fit with Donovan Mitchell, but they're losing Isaac Okoro, it seems. So they're in the market for a small forward, somebody that can play the 3. So, we'll just have to see if that works out. What's the word with Darius Garland? I know he was in trade talks at one point, or at least his name was being thrown out there, and he hasn't been moved yet. But 2 teams that Mr. Logical didn't say, because he didn't have my full notes, is, now it depends on what this team is thinking of their future. I was thinking the Toronto Raptors, to put Brandon Ingram next to Scotty Barnes. The problem with that is Scotty Barnes is not as good as Pascal Siakam. So if that was the plan, you might as well have just kept and paid Siakam. But obviously, Toronto's starting over. They just paid Emmanuel Quickly 5 years, 175, brought in Davion Mitchell, but they have RJ Barrett. So, so to bring him to Toronto, you might have to do a BI for RJ Barrett. And I don't know who wins a trade in that scenario, because they're about the same flavor of mid as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I don't know what you do with RJ Barrett and DeJounte Murray.
Yeah. So
it's going to be shambles for a lot of teams. Yeah, keep going.
So then the last team that I had, is another bottom dweller, because Brandon Ingram is pretty much a bottom dweller at this point. So I said, Why
I
can't
don't think he's a bottom dog. I just think he doesn't move the needle like the contract that he's
I
expecting.
feel that this version of the NBA that we're watching are phasing players like him out. Like he's tall, he's lanky, so he can stretch the floor a little bit. But the problem is that he ain't good enough for that to be a thing. Like he's like maybe what I don't know. I ain't even gonna say that. But the other team that I was thinking about was Portland. You know, from the standpoint, that's right. Even though I said he was overrated doesn't mean garbage. You know what I'm saying? But but you know, and shout out to the Sixers. You know, apparently they're going to bring back the black uniforms of this, so you know I'm excited for that. But I was thinking Portland. You know, Portland's got this log jam. They got rid of Brogdon, but they still have Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simon, Shaden Sharp. You know, they just brought in Deni Avia. You know, they still got Jeremy Grant. So like they just have this log jam that maybe if you put in Brandon Ingram, you know, he's a former all-star. So, you know, you bring some credibility to the locker room potentially because I mean, most of these guys, you know, you're an NBA player, you think your shit don't stink, you think you're the best player on the team. So if I bring in somebody like Brandon Ingram, maybe that's you know, this is my team now. Maybe the way that you said it felt like he didn't want to be in New Orleans because he knew that the push was for Zion. So maybe if I put him somewhere like Portland, you know, maybe this is your team now. Only problem is nobody wants to be in Portland either.
No one wants to be in Portland. For what I hear, it's a dope city.
Great seafood.
He just can't. He can't expect to go to a contender. And I'm not sure if he can just lock into, oh, this is my time to get a max extension.
Right.
And that be his mantra, his intrinsic marching orders. Because I don't know if $208 million is on the table for him. Maybe in Portland, because I don't think they're paying anyone that kind of money. And maybe it helps Scoot to have another guy that can handle the ball, that can score, a guy you're not still wondering what his ceiling is. Because if I can get Brandon Ingram in there without Zion, right now you got 21 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists.
So when Portland brought in Jeremy Grant, they paid him 5 years, 160.
Yeah. He's I wouldn't say, you know, because he's better, he gets more money, but like if you're going to spend 160 on Jeremy Grant, spending 200 on Brandon Ingram isn't outrageous, considering that you already spent the 160 on Grant. If you are a team that's like you don't know where to fit him in, and then you bring him in for 200 million, I think you can slide him right in because obviously some of those pieces that they have there in place, some of those young guards are going to head down to New Orleans. But we were talking about it with the draft. It seems as if a lot of teams are stuck between a rock and a hard place, or the fork in the road, or whatever, you know, adjective you want to use. And they just need to make the hard decision. They have to go to the meeting and say the tough thing out loud. Like, hey,
right,
maybe we need to move off of Zion. Hey, maybe Steph needs to, you know, this needs to be his last year. Maybe we don't bring Draymond back. Because they'll look at like, oh, when Draymond played, we were 24 and 13. We were on our way to 49 wins. Yeah, but how effective are you with the guy who can't stop getting technicals? Mike Conley Jr. played like, 14 years in NBA, some crazy number. No technical fouls. Never been ejected out of a game.
Yeah.
Draymond Green got ejected 14 times last year.
All right, so now
that's an exaggeration, but
so with that being said, you know, saying now we're gonna call this the Laker portion of the show. We're gonna talk about other teams too, but you know what I mean. But yeah, for the sake of conversation, so the Lakers, they're basically running it back. You know what I mean? And you know, this is gonna be LeBron another year older, so to the point of he's still effective, he's still putting up numbers, you know what I mean? But not saying that there's going to be a severe fall off. I'm not doing the Max Kellerman cliff thing, but at some point those legs add up. You know what I mean? And you've been fortunate that he's been able to play in the playoffs, you know, this deep into the season and all this without injuries late in the year so far. So to Mike's point and to what you were saying earlier, yeah, like you should have traded Anthony Davis, and now that we're here, what do you do? Because no matter who you want to get, who wants D'Angelo Russell? Who wants Achimura? You might find a home for Austin Reeves, but what you going to get back for him? Who wants Jackson Hayes?
Your WWE,
Like
your,
who wants
your,
it?
your sports entertainment. There's teams that they're going to be on TV because of the brand. The Lakers, the Suns, Golden State, the Knicks have gotten better. Philly's gotten better. So like the Miami is going to be on TV because of the brand. Like you're playing
Who
for the
hasn't been
brand.
making moves either.
Haven't making moves, but it's like that's Miami, that's the brand. But what we're going to see is going to look a lot like New Orleans, is going to look a lot like previous Minnesota years. It's going to look a lot like just those teams that are like crawling to go over the hump. I think the Clippers are going to be in that same boat where you're WWE, your AEW, like you're just sports entertainment at that point because you're not championship contending. We're going to talk about you because of the brand that you wear.
Right.
The cities that you play in will get you on TV, but Miami won't be better than Orlando. No one's going to be talking about Orlando. OKC is going to
We'll
be
do it.
Yeah, OKC is going to be head and shoulders above both teams in Southern California, and Denver is going to be way better than both of the teams in Northern California. But the conversation is going to be more about what's going on with Steph. What does LeBron need for a championship? Like that conversation, it just feels forced and just old because like it's up to the Lakers to put pieces in place for LeBron and the team to win championships. It is not up to the sports media conglomerate to come up with their ideas.
Well, according to these arguments that I was having over the weekend, the Lakers are sabotaging LeBron so they could keep Kobe's legacy intact.
Like they don't care. Like they don't care about legacy, homie. They care about money. They care about money. People care about
what they should care about is the fact that Boston just got number 18. That's what they should care about. But
I don't think they even care about that because everyone's talking about like, yo, you got 11 when there's 12 teams in the league and it was like 4 black dudes. I don't think people are like really counting their first 11. Like, let's keep it a being like, I know they had that argument, but like, I don't think the 18 to 17 matters as much because if you think about the Buss family, they were part of a lot of Laker championships, I believe, at this point, around 11 or so, with the 5 from Magic, 5 from Kobe and Shaq. Well, 5 from Kobe, 5 from Magic, 1 from LeBron. So I think the Buss family was there for 11. So I don't think they look at the Celtics 18 like, oh my God, we're lacking. It's like, yo, we've gotten 11 since my dad bought this team. The rest of the league, you can grab 12 teams at random.
It was so easy, I could do it.
Yeah, it's like you got. So I don't think it's a sabotage thing. Honestly, it's just a matter of like, there's not much out there this year. Like the last 6 seasons with the parity of 6 champions. If we go back 7 years, I think you got Golden State in 2017 or 2018.
2018, yeah.
And then the Toronto run, and then you throw a Golden State in there, and then you have the last 2 years with Denver and Boston.
Yeah.
So Golden State's got 2 in the last 7 years, but for the sake of the parity argument, 6 years in a row, different champion.
Right.
It's gonna show even more next year. I think Boston has a shot, but if Philly retools and like I said, if Philly has
I got a question about Philly for you in a second. But before I get to that, where does Memphis fit into all this?
You got to see what Ja's like on his comeback. Shout out to Josh, our Minnesota native.
Shout out.
He said those belong to Prince. I mean, hey, Purple Rain. Yeah, there's no lakes in LA. I think Memphis has a shot simply because their guy was out, and now they have a real shot to compete for fourth in the West. I don't know about third just yet, but I think that puts. I think they're ahead of Phoenix. I could put them ahead of Houston. I could put them ahead of
Yeah, I was going to bring up Houston.
both
That's
LA
a team on the
teams.
rise.
I could put them ahead of New Orleans. So I could, of the 15 teams in the West, I can start them at 7, 6, 7 in that I think Dallas has gotten better. I mean, granted, they did represent the West, but I don't think their roster is that much better than OKC's move. I like the Klay Thompson move, but I don't know. Is you put him back in the starting lineup? Does he have the legs for the starting lineup? Does he come up the bench? If he does, if you put him in the starting lineup and then you decide like, yo, maybe he doesn't have the legs, is he gonna be good going to the bench if Dallas has to do it? So you can mix him in there around that 4, 5, 6. So I think you can put Memphis in that range, 4, 5, 6. I think they have the pieces in place to be automatically inserted in there, and then we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the Rockets are, coming for the play-in, or at least they're going to probably be improved. I don't know what the hell the Clippers are going to be. I imagine
fighting for the play-in.
Yeah, they're going to either be in the play-in or just miss it. Are the Spurs going to be good enough to get an extra 10 wins?
No. I want to say yes, but I just felt like with Wemby on the squad and the youth they had on the team last year, they should have looked better, and they didn't. So I can't imagine you adding like an older Chris Paul into Popovich's system, and it just
because you're disrespecting world champion Harrison Barnes, huh?
Yeah, and I think they're all close to our age. It's like I don't know where the mix is. Like I said, I didn't think San Antonio really. I think I used a Coach Carter reference before, and he was, when they had their first game, they went to the timeout, and he was like, "Coach, you didn't teach us any plays." He's like, "What did I teach y'all?" They're like, "To run." So what do you think I want you to do? And the guy was like, "Run." Yeah. So every rebound they were just running out. So using that youth to their advantage. We thought Houston was going to do that. And then they went and got a bunch of old guys. And it's like, now it doesn't work. San Antonio, I don't know if it works. But like I said, like they're in the play-in. They're in that 8, 9, 11 range.
So Philadelphia.
To prove otherwise.
So Philadelphia, they brought in Caleb Martin now.
Correct.
So here's my question:
is his brother still in the league?
I believe
the twin.
I believe so. But here's the question, though: Philly doing too much now?
No, I don't think they're doing too much because they have a couple of guys that might need 12 games off the rip. I think they might have 2 guys that are like their season is 70 games, and they're gonna low manage based on like. You can just count 12 games off for Paul George and Embiid on alternate nights. And
I'm thinking 17 off of Embiid. He's going to play the 65 that he needs to be MVP.
So we'll give healthy Embiid 65 games, healthy Paul George 63 to 68 games. So you're gonna need a guy like Martin who down in Miami, because Miami does this thing where they play the tall guys that the owner pays money to and just sees what happens. Like just Nikola Jovic. Your name is close enough to this other guy that plays in Denver. Go play. And it worked out like, you know what? This 6'7", 6'8" guy can do some stuff.
Jaime
Jaquez. Like if you think about the UCLA squad, they had Mari Bailey, 6'5", left-handed guy, went to Charlotte. Barely got any real run. Jaquez was down in Miami just playing. Just like, listen, you're out here. You could dribble the ball. We drafted you. You've been playing basketball for X amount of years of your life. You're young. Go play. Let's see if we can make it work.
Right.
I think Philly, I like the Martin move. I still don't, I think Boston, because I think Boston just head and shoulders
Yeah.
above
I mean, they won the East by what, 14, 15 games.
14,
Like,
15
that's a lot to
games.
make up
They
regardless
ran
of
it.
what you
They
sign.
ran it all back, and their system makes sense. Like what they do for their personnel grouping is proven that it works. Like, so everybody in the locker room knows what we do here for this team works. Like Cole Hauser, shout out Sam Hauser, he knows, like, if I get to this spot and I go 4 for 7 from 3, that's good enough. Even if it's 4 for 9, but the 4, I did my part. I knocked down those 4. Pritchard, Drew Holiday needs 12 minutes where he doesn't have to handle the ball throughout the game, and I need to go 3 for 7 or 3 for 8 from 3. I got my so it's like everyone knows it's not like a guy's gonna be like, oh man, I only got 8 shots. My 8 shots and the rest that Drew got for me is Pritchard. Like, that's what I'm supposed to do. I think Boston has that advantage. Philly, like, I've never really like picking teams that bring in a bunch of free agents and then they have all these expectations before they even practice the workout. Like, even the Miami Heat was like not 5, not 6, not 7. They didn't come out the gate looking great. I think they started out 9 and 8. So it takes a while for it to work out.
Yeah,
but
then
I
of
mean,
course,
I like that second move because it allows those guys to take that time off.
Then of course you got Crimea Glenn Rivers, that haven't done a damn thing. They picked up DeLon Wright, they picked up Torian Prince, which is fine. But I think you're at the stage where the way that the teams are around you building, you might need a little more dynamic player.
Giannis is playing 36 to 38 minutes a game this year.
Yeah, you got
his minutes is probably like his minutes are gonna go up. Like, that's the only thing. Is like we didn't make a move so we can keep maybe some defensive help.
Yeah,
but
Dame's another year older. Yeah. Middleton's another year older, and with all the injuries, he's probably older than he really is. You got Brook Lopez, like I always say about Embiid's knees. Brook Lopez is actually that age. Then they trying to trade him to get a first round draft pick. But what kind of player could you get back for Brook Lopez? So at this point, they're running it back, but I don't think they were in a position. Because, I mean, who else is on their team? They got my guy, Andre Jackson, on the bench that they didn't play very much. They got Pat Connaughton still. You know what I mean? So like,
did Portis leave in free agency? Or he's
still there. But at that point, but what I do like I said the other day, I do like Orlando picking up KCP. Markelle Fultz is probably out of there. So now you got minutes to give Anthony Black, who they drafted last year in the first round, 6'7" point guard, defensive stud. So the problem with Orlando is that their defense was already legit. You know what I mean? So like, now you're just overpowered. They're probably going to be the best defense in the league, but they need one more scorer.
Can you get the 105 points?
Yeah, they need one more scorer. And if they didn't have somebody like Franz Wagner, then I would say maybe BI could go there. You know what I mean? But then, he disrupts everything that they do anyway. So, but like you said, though,
I think bringing in an older role player works on a young team. Like KCP, play defense, guard the point guard tough, take open looks, makes more sense versus, like I said, what Houston is doing
right
with the older players. Or even like Detroit. Detroit has all young guys that they can't fit anywhere. Like, they could have moved out a couple of those players. And I know Reggie Jackson was already in Detroit, but like a guy like that, like someone.
I mean, to be fair though, it's only July 8th. They still got time to make moves.
But
now that the big wave of free agency has cleared up,
a lot of fans should really just go to games and just be happy for the ambiance. Like, you go to the game because it's a Tuesday night, it's date night, or it's like a day with your daughter who likes basketball, a night with your son who likes basketball. because a lot of your teams are playing for 7th place.
Yeah, just bring the plastic bag or
Yeah,
the paper the plastic or paper bags back to put over your head.
yes.
You know, but
Sneak some food in and save you a little bit of coin. But like that's a lot of fans are going to be at games where your team is at best a 5th seed, and that's with all things going well.
and
Like
then
Brooklyn, what is Brooklyn going to give you?
and I still don't have any idea what Utah's doing.
Oh man, another technical difficulty. But we're good. Mike will get back on in a second. But yeah, if we just go coast to coast, a lot of NBA teams probably were 2 or 3 years away from, or 2 years behind on the move they should have made.
Yeah,
You know, listen, this is a live show. We have technical difficulties.
yeah,
This is
it
how life
happens.
works.
It happens.
Sometimes I get a C on my homework, but for the most part, it's always holla at your
You
boy.
know, so real quick, before we get out of here, I'm gonna read these names of these free agents. You let me know what stands out to you.
Okay.
All right, Gary Trent Jr., Tyus Jones, Spencer Dinwiddie, Sadiq Bey, Markel Fultz, Lonnie Walker IV, Precious Achua, Kyle Lowry, Luke Kennard, C.D. Osman, THT, Reggie Bullock, Dennis Smith Jr., KJ Martin. Anything stand out to you?
Okay. So I think that's Caleb's brother. So it looks like he's out.
No, that's
Dennis
no. KJ is Kenyon Martin's son.
Kenyon Martin's son.
Yeah.
Oh, I like youth. So I like that energy, and sons of NBA players are normally pretty good. Gary Trent Jr. probably should have been a testament to that. Sometimes journeyman is hard to bring them in because as a GM, you don't love them, so you don't really have a role for them. I don't think many of those guys are exceptional anywhere. Like I don't think any of them like really long defenders or great on ball defenders. I think Tyus Jones is probably a good backup point guard, but
I feel
the
like the
lack of the
Lakers.
lack of size and the lack of shooting. I don't know what a backup point guard gets you if your offense is like spread with a bunch of combo guards.
I feel like the Lakers should bring in Gary Trent Jr. at the very least. Because the number one thing that we always talk about is their lack of shooting. Max Christie is a good shooter that doesn't get any minutes. So
But I think the Lakers are tapped out on their seats. Like I don't think they have a spot for players because
of the
Pelinka gave
apron.
not even just the apron, just he gave 4 or 5 of their role players player options for this year, so you can't even get rid of them.
Right.
And then it's something like you can't cut multiple guys who are on the league minimum. So he gave these guys essentially like Jackson Hayes, D'Angelo Russell has his player option. Jackson Hayes had a player option. I believe Chrissy had a player option, but they had player options for the minimum, just essentially tying the hands of the GM.
Well, they
Because
gave
you
Christie
can't move
$8 million a year.
Yeah, but he took that option. He's like, I'm not getting any other offers, so they all took their option. So I think they don't have any space. Like I said, I think a good backup point guard works if you run that kind of offense. Maybe Phoenix should really look into bringing in a point guard. I don't know if Markel Fultz is that guy.
Maybe Kyle Lowry.
I mean, Kyle Lowry's LeBron's age. I don't think people realize. Like,
Yeah.
I think he's 38.
Yeah, he is.
So he's up there. He was in that same high school hallway age as LeBron. So like that's an old guy. It might be just he might want to just go sign with Toronto, do his retire as a Raptor.
Yeah, I'm surprised nobody's picked up Luke Kennard.
How good? Like I said, if you don't play like defense, if you don't do something well, you have to be exceptional somewhere else.
Right.
And I'm not sure if he really fits that billing. Philly is probably going to bring in a couple of these free agents if they have space. Maybe Milwaukee.
Well, I know
Luke Kennard, get
AJ Martin is their free agent. He played for Philly, so maybe they just keep him, or maybe they could sign and trade him for somebody.
Spencer Dinwiddie, for some reason, when you watch Laker games, what's going on, Tony? I'm not sure if he hit a shot when I watched Laker games. It just looked like he was out there for cardio. It was so many games, like multiple games. He had like, remember that Tony Snell line we had like 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals in like 24 minutes.
Right.
Like that's what Spencer Dinwiddie was looking like a lot of nights. And it's like, yo, you're 6'6", 6'7", combo guard, mainly shooting guard. You should be getting to the bucket, getting fouled, getting free throws when you get your opportunity. But maybe it's just the way the Lakers played
That's
and it
just the
didn't really
way.
fit.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Because a lot of it is, let this old ass dude set up the offense and dribble the ball most of the time.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like even when LeBron wasn't on the floor, but I think the offense in LA didn't look
it
like
just stagnate. Yeah,
it didn't look like in like I said, the quote from Kevon Looney when he was talking about Dallas in the finals. Like sometimes you got to get the role players shots early. That way later in the game when you need them to shoot that three, they can do it. Boston did that. I think Dallas was doing a good job. At least guys were shooting it. They weren't always making it, but you had guys that were ready to shoot.
Uh-huh.
I don't think any of these free agents that you ran down the list are catch and shoot guys. I don't really think many of them are like prime defenders. Maybe youth. I know Amari Bailey. I don't know if he got picked up, but he got waived by.
Nah, he's not on the roster right now.
He got waived by Charlotte. I'm like, he got like.
And who the hell is Charlotte playing that like you can't?
They can't get him minutes or get him or keep.
Because you got Brandon Miller in the draft this past year. LaMelo never plays anyway. Who the hell are you playing that you can't start a 6'5" defender that can shoot?
Yeah. Or maybe it's just a message. I would love to be in one of these NBA organizations and really see how it works. Because from the outside, like someone who thinks organizationally, someone who thinks project management, someone thinks process management, process oriented from just my time in the Air Force. It's like I've seen what a poor commander, that the vibe and the tone they can set on a unit. And I've been in a flight, the commander is obviously the person in charge, but I've been in a flight where I had a flight chief that you could tell every one of his moves were very self-centered and egocentric. And I can see how that like turned everybody off, but you get them out of there, you get somebody else new. It just feels like a lot of these teams don't have the right people in place. Like you should be able to go to a guy and say, listen, I know you want to score 20 points a night, but can you give me 12 points and 2.5 steals?
Yeah.
Because that 2.5 steals could get us potentially 6 more points from other guys. That way you couple of assists. Now you're getting 3, you're getting a couple of steals. We get runouts because turnover is the easiest way to get layups, especially if you're getting turnover at the top of the key, you jump in the lane. You're on a run out. Like the defense doesn't even chase you. If you get a steal off the wing, like if you get a deflection and a steal off the wing, you scoop that ball up, you're getting the layup, or just like, can you participate in this game in other ways? And I don't know if the coaches they put in place can articulate that to the players, or it's just a faith in the coaching staff because, so much money being involved with. If I'm a 20-point scorer, i.e. Brandon Ingram, I'm expecting $208 million. Because I'm that guy. So it just, like I said, that's the confusing part to me. Because like I'm not sure. Like I don't know too many people who are 6'5", 6'6", or 6'7", but like the NBA seems to just be throwing these guys off the rosters like it's nothing. Like these guys are just coming in off a factory somewhere.
Well, I got my eye on Adonis Arms to see if he ends up on somebody's roster. 32 and 11. Why everybody's still talking about Bronny?
He gonna be on the shelf collecting dust.
That it is what it is, I guess.
Coaches don't want to play a guy that's only making the league minimum and bench a guy that's getting 18 million.
That's true. But on that note, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Sports Reports as Ordered. Thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you so much for the love. Thank you for the engagement. Thank you for everything. Like, review, subscribe, do all the good things, do all of the free things.
Absolutely.
Tuck Granny in. We be back on Thursday. We love you. America. You know, we had 4th of July the other day and all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? So as we get towards the end of July, you know what that means? Football. Peace.